Hey YouTube, welcome to my channel Public White Geek. This is Sanam, and today we're gonna build a weather app. So you can see I have two devices here. This one is my iPhone, the real device, and this is the simulator. So we're gonna build a weather app, something similar to this, and don't worry about these numbers in the simulator. Uh, the actual app is gonna look like this, right? So also we have some animation or the motion effect. So if I move the camera, you can see the background giving the effect, right, along with the movement. So we'll have a live weather, uh, current weather, as well as the forecast weather. Sorry for that. And the forecast weather, and uh, we'll be using Alamofire. We'll be using Swifty JSON. I'll be teaching you how to use JSON parsing using Alamofire and Swifty JSON. And well, that's it. And let's begin. Alright, guys, let's open up our Xcode single view application and click next. Let's call it uh, awesome weather. Next, and right over here is okay. Right. So iPhone 10, and let's build. Right. So this is our application initial state. Let's also create the folders, the structure, which is MVC model view controller. So new group, and let's call it model, or rather call it controller, and then new group view and new group model. Along with this, we would also need a couple of extensions. So let's create extensions, and let's call this extras for all the extra work that we're gonna do. Right. So put this view controller here, and yeah. So I have this sketch file. Let me just pull it over. So I got this sketch file prepared specially for this YouTube video. We have two designs over here. I'm not gonna use both the designs. Rather, you can further develop this app to use different background for day or night. What we are gonna do is we'll be using this background. We'll be following this design, not this, but this. So we have these designs, right? And we are also not gonna put these icons, so you can do that if you want. I don't feel like we need to do it because I'm gonna show you right over here how to put that. Right, so we have this design. I'm gonna use this. I've already exported the required assets from the sketch file. So these are the assets. Let's put these right over here. So we have our background and we have our icon. So I'm just putting these static icon right now. Later on, if you want, you can change these as well. I'll tell you how to do it, but uh, I'll tell you once we reach that level, right? All right. So let's get started. Uh, let's go ahead and open our main.storyboard and put an image view. And let's make it 0000, right? And let me open pages because I want to show you something. So you can see this is how the graph works, right? So you have x-axis positive, x-axis negative, y negative, and y positive. Why I'm showing you this is the motion effect that we're gonna implement in this app. For that, if we just keep these two edges 0, 0, 0, 0, when we do the motion effect, uh, it's gonna show the white space, right? So in order to avoid that, we need to uh, increase the size of this image view. It should be outside this so that when we pull that image within the view, when we bring it within the view, um, we still have some background there, right? You'll know when we are trying to do it. So let's simply put the BG right now, the background. So this is the background, right? And let's do aspect fill, and for the axis is gonna be top will be, let's say, another 50. Sorry, minus 50, and then minus 50 as well. No, positive 50 plus 50, and then this side it's gonna be minus 50, and then bottom is gonna be extra 50. Right. So our image is actually bigger than the view controller, so it's gonna go outside the uh, display or the view itself. But this is how we want, because we want to pull that image, we want to bring it within the view when we tilt the phone, right? So we're gonna come back to that later on. First, let's set up as per the design, right? So we have our sketch file. I'm gonna pull it, keep it here, right? So we have this. So first is the city. For that we need a label view, and then it's gonna be the partly sunny type, and then the image. So let's put image view again, and then it's another label, and then the date. Oops. So let's do that. Um, let's set this up now. So this label is gonna be font will be Arial rounded empty bold. That's the font that the designer has given me, right? And I'm gonna increase the size to, let's say, 26. I think it should be okay. And white, and then select this and command equals, and you get it. It auto adjusts the size, right? And let's put it 20 from the top, and height 35, and then horizontally in container. Don't worry about these things, we're gonna set all these up. My mouse is not working properly, I don't know what happened. Anyways, so yeah, label, this one is gonna be the city, right? And this one, see why I'm not setting it as a fixed width is because you don't know how big the city name is gonna be, right? So it's never a good idea to have city name a fixed size uh, for any of the label as a width, right? So don't set width as fixed value. Rather, you can set the height and then align it, center vertically or horizontally in the container, but don't try not to use fixed width, right? So for this one, it's gonna be the same font, and 20 is fine. White. Again, we can set this to 6, and let height be 28, and then vertically or horizontally in the container. So there we go. We have two things. Now let's go for the third one, which is the image. So I'm gonna set this as a fixed width and height, so it's gonna be 100 by 100, and 6 is fine. Yeah, and then horizontally in container, right? And same for this one. So this is the right. So let's set this to 4, and then we'll change some of these constraints later on as we run this on the device. We'll see what are the changes required, and then we'll do it, right? So let's set this to 26 or probably 35. Center, and let's set it to 10 degrees, and white, and also do horizontally in container. So there we go. And then label, this one is the date actually, so let's set this to date, and let's set this to temp. This is the temperature, or the temperature type actually. We can actually reduce the size of this one. We don't need such a big height for this, so we can set it to 30 probably, or 28, or even 25. Yeah, 25 looks okay. And then we can increase the size of this one. Yep, that looks okay. So we can set this to 4, and let's just stick with 4, and then horizontally in container, and let's set this to 14, white, and custom, and then this one. Right, so we got this the first so this is how the first part, or the top part, is the current weather, right? So current weather that we are showing, and yeah, we'll be using location from the device, so current weather, and then right over here is the forecasted weather, right? So for next 5 days or 10 days that you want to show. Let's try to run this and see if everything looks good. Seems okay. I can add the image here. It was partly sunny, and let's set it to aspect fit. Yep. So let's try this. Alright, so we have our city temp and the cloud image and the temperature and the date as well. We can probably bring the date, give some more spacing. We can first increase. Right, so we have this data. I mean, the initial, the top part design is ready. Let's let's try to pull some data. So the API that we're going to use is the Open Weather Map API. It's a free API. You can check it out. I'll be posting the link in the description, and let me open up their link as well, the website. Just openweathermap.org. Right, so this is the website, openweathermap.org, and if you go to API, and then you can see they have current weather data for 5 days, for 16 days, so historical data, air pollution, a lot of API they have provided, and they're free to use. So let's go to current weather data. That's what we need right now, and we won't be giving it by name. What we want to do is we want to pull out the location from the device, so latitude and the longitude locational values, and then pass it on to our API and pull down the weather data. So let's scroll down, and so we have this option. You can see by geographic coordinates, right? And this is the API endpoint. So they expect a lat and long, right? If we click on it, they give us this JSON, and it's a sample URL here. If you try to use this URL, it won't work. So what you need to do is you need to go and click on sign in, right? And go at the top, click on sign in. Once you have signed in, you can create a API key from there, which is which is gonna look like this API key, right? And you would need this to make the actual API calls, and it takes around 15 to 20 minutes for the API to get activated, your key to get activated. So don't panic when you do it for the first time. uh, just create the API key and wait for 15-20 minutes. Usually they say 5 to 10 minutes, but in my experience it takes around 15 to 20 minutes to get activated, and it's for free. You don't need to pay anything or even share your credit card details. You don't need to give them anything, just your email address. All right, so yeah, this is the API URL, but over here you don't have the same URL. You can see it's samples.openweathermap.org, whereas the actual is the api.openweathermap.org, right? So this is the one that we need. So let's get started. What we need to do is we'll be using two pods or the libraries, third-party libraries. One is Alamofire, which is used for making network call or network requests, which makes actually a lot easier to make the network calls or network requests. You can do it with the default Apple uh, NSURL way as well, but I prefer this as a uh, daily. My daily driver is Alamofire for doing any sort of network calls on iOS, and in my experience, none of the employers have ever had any problem or any complaint. They have never told me that not to use it, right? So yeah, we need Alamofire, and another one is the Swifty JSON. It actually complements how Alamofire works. So Alamofire helps you make a request and download the data from your, be it JSON, XML, whatever data it is. It allows you to download it, whereas Swifty JSON helps you in mapping those JSON values. So I'll be showing you both the ways. One is with the Swifty JSON, another one is without using Swifty JSON, and you'll kind of see the difference. Why I prefer Swifty JSON along with Alamofire. So yeah, for the current weather, we'll be using Alamofire plus Swifty JSON, and for the forecast weather, we'll be using only Alamofire, no Swifty JSON. Right, so you can see the difference over there. All right, let's integrate our Cocoapods. So in order to do that, we need to go to terminal. Right, so open up terminal and navigate to your project. Mine is in CD documents, projects, iOS, YouTube, and this one is called awesome weather L. So yep. And while we are here, let's also check if Git is enabled or not. So it is. Let's add git commit. Right. And now if we do git status, it's all good. So in order to integrate Cocoapods, we need to write a command to initialize the Cocoapods. We need to do pod init. And now if we do like this, we have a pod file. So we can do vi pod file and go down here. And let's check out the uh, Alamofire pod. So type Alamofire. So this is the Alamofire GitHub page. Right over here, installation, under installation, they have Cocoapods installation method. So you need to have your Cocoapods installed. If you don't know how to install it, you can check out my previous video. I have a video for how to install Cocoapods and how to use them. Right. So this is the one that we need, this particular line, and let's go back to our terminal. Let's put it here, and then another one that we need is Swifty JSON. This is the one. So installation, this is the file that we need, this is the line that we need, and let's go here, escape wq, and then pod install. And when you're installing the Cocoapods, you need to close your Xcode, right? And once it is installed, you need to open the .exe workspace. So if I go to this, you can see now I have awesomeweather.exe workspace. This is the file that we need to open. So I'll say open awesomeweather.exe workspace, and now this is done. Let's do a command build, just a dry run, to make sure that our Cocoapods are installed and compiled as well. Build succeeded. Let's try to run it. You won't see any changes right now in the app on our simulator. Right. So you can see it's still the same. Nothing has changed yet because we haven't made any requests. We haven't used any pod yet. So next up is so how we're going to proceed with this tutorial is, first is we're going to put the motion effect that we want in the background. We'll put the motion effect in the background, and then we're going to start pulling down the data for the current temperature, and we'll put that uh, on our app, which will start displaying that. And then we're going to go down to the forecast section, where we will set up the table view, and we will uh, pull down the forecast weather, and we'll start displaying that as well. So let's start with the motion effect first. So you don't need any Cocopod for the motion effect, but so how we're gonna do is, let's go to our vcontroller.swift. Let's remove this boilerplate stuff, and let's put some comments here. It says outlets constants and variables. Right, so we have our outlets, constants, and variables, and let's also put these. So this one, oh sorry. So holding Alt or Option, click on main.storyboard, and now you have this, which is way too smaller, but yeah. So let's put city. So let's call it city name. this one is gonna be the weather type. This is the weather image, and uh, let's call it current city temp. This one is current date. Right, so we have all these outlets over here now, and let's start working on the towards setting up the parallax effect that we have, or the motion effect that we have, right, that I showed you initially. So let's start implementing that. So in order to do that, let's set up a function, and let's say, what should we call it? Special effect. Sorry guys, I'm bad in naming. Alright, so special effect, that's the function. Why is it giving error? And it's gone. Okay, so I told you initially, right, the x-axis, the y-axis, um, and why we gave the extra spacing, or the we increased the size of the image, right? So for the motion, we need to work on the axis itself. So we need to tell, uh, like, if we're going x-axis positive, or x-axis negative, or y positive or y negative, what is the intensity, or what is the level to which the screen at which I mean this the intensity at which your background will move, right? So we need to set those values now. So let's say let horizontal uh, horizontal motion is equal to, so horizontal is the x-axis, right? So it's going to be UI interpolating motion effect, and let's close this. Key path, this one is going to be center dot x, and type is gonna be dot tilt along horizontal axis. Since we are working on the horizontal plane, or the x-axis, so it's gonna be the tilt along with the horizontal axis. The other one, or first let's set up the horizontal, and then we'll go for the vertical, the y-axis, right? So it's called horizontal motion dot minimum relative value is equal to, and horizontal motion dot maximum relative value, right? So these are the values that we will be providing, the maximum level, like 20 or 50, or how many pixels you want to change. So for that, I'm gonna pass this value in the function as a parameter. So let's call it intensity, and this one is gonna be of type double. So minimum is towards the negative side, so minus intensity, and this one is going to be positive intensity. And let vertical motion, now this is the y-axis, right? And it's the same UI interpolating motion effect. Key path will be center dot y and dot tilt along with the vertical axis, and vertical motion dot minimum is equal to, and vertical motion dot maximum is equal to. So again, it's gonna be the same, minus intensity and plus intensity. So whatever value give, so since we have given 50 pixel extra, so we can go up to 50. If we go anything beyond 50, we will see the white space, right? So we don't want that to happen. And yeah, these are the two things that we need. So now we can add the movement. So let's add the movement. UI motion effect group. So we'll group these two, X and Y, and then we can uh, we'll make it as one motion, and then we can attach that motion or the movement to a particular UI view, right? So UI motion effect group, and then movement dot motion effects is equal to, it's gonna take array, and we have two. So first one is the horizontal motion, and the second is the vertical motion, right? So we created two motions. We said, okay, in X this is the maximum, this is the minimum movement. In Y this is the maximum, this is the minimum movement. And now we are clubbing it together, and we are saying, okay, this is the total movement that view can do, right? So that's the movement that we are defining now. And then view dot add movement motion effect, and the effect is gonna be the movement, right? So we have these things set up now. Our movement is working now. Whichever let's say whichever UI view we want to give the effect to, we can simply create a function here called apply effect, and since it's gonna be assigned to a view, so we can set that view of type UI view. And now we can do something like this. We can call this function special effect, and the view is gonna be, oh, we did not, yeah, we did not put the background image to this outlet, so let's do that. Special background BG, right? Special BG. Alright, now we can do something like special BG, and since we gave it uh, the image size, we extended it 50 pixels on each side, so we can go up to, let's say, 45, right? Let's go to 45, and we cannot run it on a simulator. I mean we can, but we cannot see this effect in the simulator, right? So also let's call this function in-view.load, right, and run. Also let me pull open my iPhone screen over here. Quick time clear. So you can see this is the app that we are working on, right? Set the temp. Now if I move my device, you can see that background is moving, right? You can also add effect to these. So let's try to add one more. Let's do like this. Special effect, and let's give this to the cloud, which is the weather image. So let's do to weather image, and let's make an intensity of -30 or 45. Why I'm giving negative is, if we keep both the same, then both of these views will move in the same direction, and you won't be able to see that effect, right? So we have this. Now you can see the effect. If I go to the left, if I bring my device to the left, the background image of Taj Mahal moves to the left, but the sun and the cloud is moving towards the right. See? You can see this effect, right? So I'm going to remove this effect from the cloud for now, but yeah, you can play with it. It's a simple hack of creating a parallax effect, right? And switch to my iPhone 10 simulator and run it over there to make sure that there are no problems after adding this effect. Cool. So it's all working. Next up is we need to start downloading the data, the weather data from the API. We'll give the static latitude and longitude initially, and once our data is downloading, once we are sure that the data is coming, it's getting displayed, then we will also implement the location manager, and we'll pull out the location from the device and implement it, uh, and pass it to the API and download the actual real-time data. So guys, that was the part one uh, of this video tutorial series of weather app, and we'll be continuing with the part two, and I'm gonna make that and upload it very soon. So I'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye bye.